I'm Josephine from we.CONECT. I'm live at the SAMS Europe Conference 2016. This is Drummond from Dolby, and I'm happy that he found 5 minutes for a short talk.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Would you please introduce yourself and tell us more about your job background?
My name is Drummond Simpson from Dolby. I'm currently looking after license compliance and intellectual property protection within the Dolby organization. I've done similar roles in IBM and Adobe historically, and my background is a finance background.
Okay. You have been the chairman of the Software Alliance, the leading advocate for the global software industry. What key experience could you take out of this job concerning your current role?
I guess the key that, and not only from that role, but also from listening to the discussions this morning in the forums, is that software asset management and software license management is an incredibly complex environment to be found, and a lot of that depends not only who you interact with from a vendor perspective, but it's also dependent on the nature of your organization and also what geographies you find yourself in. You know, some have like Europe has a very high regard for intellectual property rights versus potentially our third world and emerging market economies, a very, very different approach to it. So I guess the key is the complexity of the environment.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have also been working on license management on the other side.
Yeah.
Like you worked for IBM and Adobe. Now you're working on the user side. What is the main problem between both? Is it more the complexity of licenses or like the frequency that this is done?
To me, I think that's not a quick answer to it. I think that's a discussion that you have for days.
Okay.
I think a couple of key observations, though, is depending on the nature of the vendors and the nature of that software, that drives a certain complexity in different licensing models. You know, some are big enterprise server-based licensees or licenses which are very complex, as opposed to perhaps single-function perpetual desktop licenses, which are perhaps a lot easier to deal with. So each brings its own set of complexities to it. So, you know, from an internal perspective, it's about understanding what you've got and what it's used for, and then trying to manage it according to the nature of its complexity, and obviously the financial risk that brings to bear on your organization.
Of course. Looking at your industry, what are the key challenges of software license management?
So fortuitously for the organization that I'm currently with, the external software is, I guess, on a smaller scale than a lot of these organizations that we see around the room today. So, you know, the challenge always is to understand what you're getting and to be having established relationships with those vendors that are supplying you, so that where there are the abilities to ensure that the contract suits both parties, and I hate using the word, but win-win type relationships, that those are established for the right reasons, so that it is truly a partnership as opposed to being forced into a sale or vice versa, buying things that you don't need.
You're here at the conference to moderate the Challenger Peers table on software license management in decentralized structures. What do you see as main advantages of a decentralized software license management?
There are some advantages. I think there's probably more to disadvantages, but in terms of some of the advantages I see is in an industry where it's perhaps quite diversified based on geography as well as the nature of the industry. If those decentralized management structures are in place, that potentially supports quicker decision making, yielding from potential local deals that are more favorable than perhaps long-term global negotiations or global account management negotiations. So, you know, that's the key. So essentially speed and reactivity locally to needs.
You want to discuss this with the peers, or are there any more aspects you want to discuss?
I think this is one of those rabbit hole type discussions where as you fall into the hole, it becomes a lot broader, and oddly enough, a lot of the discussions this morning already have been touching on that, and it appears to be quite a topical issue at the moment with a lot of the folk in the room. So I'm hoping that it's going to be a very broad and expansive discussion today.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
How do you like the conference so far?
It's great. It's the first time I've been here, and I really enjoy the discussion type forum that seems to be fostered as opposed to a set of presentations.
Yeah.
Everybody's being inclusively asked to contribute and be involved, as with the roundtables later and the icebreaker session last night. So really great so far.
Cool. So I don't want to take more of the time to interactively network and discuss. Thanks for the short interview.
Thank you very much.
Happy networking.
Thank you.